the website in the event that you aren't already on the newsletter. You will want to hop on the newsletter. I send out 2 a month, not that many. So when you connect with the newsletter, you find all, you read about all the things that I am doing, things that are coming up, events that I'm having, events that I'm attending that you can join as well. That maybe like for example, I'll be in Sedona in the spring at the Ascension Retreat for channeling. It'll be great. So if anyone is in the Southwest or in that area and you want to experience that as well. So that everything's in the newsletter or on my website. So the website is also in the chat space. Website, newsletter, signing up for that, and the YouTube channel. I also put a link for sessions in the event that you have a lot of questions and you would like to have them all answered at one time. Sessions are really great. I do allow up to 4 people. Just keep in mind that the blue healers are unpredictable, so they may offer you a lengthy breath work. So keep in mind that the more people you have in a session, the fewer questions you get to ask. And last but not least, Dimensional Kids are meeting this Saturday at 7 a.m. If you have a child and you would like to bring your child to that session, reach out to me individually. I have a private chat just for that group so that kids can meet and talk about 5D. And it is a very exciting group. There's a lot going on in there. We had a child in the last session actually do an energy healing for somebody, a very young child too. So kids these days are expressing their cool abilities a little bit earlier than some of us did. So it's really great. If you have a child or a grandchild and you want to join that, please reach out to me. And that's all. If you have any questions along the way, put them in the chat, and the readers who are here today will read out your questions if we have the time. Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. Go ahead and close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, allow yourself to sink into the body. For some of us, it's first thing in the morning, others middle of the night, and for some of you, you've already had a big part of your day. And to relax into your body, making sure your spine is relaxed. And begin to do a little bit of a scan, starting with the top of the head and working your way down. Scan the body for areas of tension, such as muscle tension. I find a lot of tension in my facial muscles or my scalp. Just breathing in space there, allowing yourself to relax. And checking in with the torso, seeing how the energies are there. And the pelvis and the legs, all the way down to the feet. And checking in with your arms down to the fingers. And now put your attention on your thoughts. Are there thoughts racing through your mind? If so, breathe in deeply, allowing the breath to create more space in your head in those thoughts. And then checking in with how you're feeling. Maybe it's been a busy day and you're still struggling to relax into this moment. Breathe into that. And with your eyes closed, we will begin with the heart breath. Breathe in through 6 and 5 to 4. Expand the heart wide. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in through 6 and 5 to 4. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in 6 and 5 to 3. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in 6 and 5 to 2. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in 6 and 5 to 1. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in 6 and 5 to 5. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in 6 and 5 to 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 at once. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in through 6 and 5 to 6. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in through 6 and 5 to 6 and 5. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in through 6 and 5 to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 at once. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in through 6 and 5 to 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 at once. Release front to back and up to 8. Breathe in from 8 to 1 in a spiral around the spine. Release 1 to 8. Breathe in from 8 to 2 in a spiral around the spine. Release 2 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 3 in a spiral. Release 3 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 4. Release 4 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 5. Release 5 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 6. Release 6 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 7. Release 7 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 1. Release 1 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 2. Release 2 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 3. Release 3 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 4. Release 4 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 5. Release 5 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 6. Release 6 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 7. Release 7 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 1. Release 1 to 9. Breathe in 9 to 0. 0 to 9. 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 9 to 0. 0 to 8. 8 to 1. And 1 to 8. And resume your natural breathing. We, the blue healers, are here today with the violet beings, with an avian group, and with an insectoid species that is new to this experience. They are here to observe and have a message or an answer to one of the questions being asked today. When you are ready, we will take your first question.
The first question comes from Judith. Dear beings, I appreciate that you join us from other dimensions with the intention of helping those of us in human form who seek to unblock healing, consciousness, and experiences beyond the 3D. Do you also have beings that you call on or channel to evolve some aspect of your experience or knowing in your form?
This is an excellent question, Judith, because it gives you an idea that there is more to the universe than just humanity. Humans are extremely limited in their perception of what is possible. And we would like to say it is many humans, not all. For those of you in this space, of course, you are open to the idea. There is, as you would describe in the human world, an evolutionary scale where humans evolve to become something a little bit more, something similar to the violet beings, where they have the ability to live both in the 3D and the 5D world. Some of them are more 3D and some of them are more 5D, depending where they are in their own evolution. Then there are other dimensional beings. And for our kind in the 5th dimension, we still retain what you would consider to be a form that is discernible from one to the next. And the way that we present ourselves is very neutral. Not only are we gender neutral, which is something humans are so very fond of and experience wonderful things to do with, we are gender neutral. We also have an appearance that is very similar to one another. And then there are beings who have evolved beyond the fifth dimension. And please keep in mind that we are using terms that make sense to you. We are using language of the human realm. And so while it is not a one-to-one correlation, this is the way that you will understand it best. You ask if we have others we channel, others we communicate with. At a certain point in evolution, when the physical form is no longer required per se, and there is more of an energetic component to the existence of the individual or the collective, we are in constant communication with all things in the universe. So while we do not necessarily channel information, we are simply having a conversation. This opens up a very wonderful possibility for all of you. You are here in communication with us. You are using an individual who has a unique skill, a unique ability to hear what we are saying, to experience the vibrational frequency of our communication. And it is only in the 3D world that a channel is even required. It is simply because the density of the majority of humans on the planet at this state of evolution for humanity as a whole is such that you are very dependent upon the five senses that you describe in your medical world as being the only ones. And of course, those of you in this space know that there is much more to the sensory perception of each human than is widely discussed in the medical world. And so here we are having a conversation. For those beings who are outside of 3D, communication is a vibrational frequency. So there is no need for one individual to be a quote channel, as you would call it. Instead, we may have ambassadors who speak on our behalf, much as you do in your world, much as you do for those who need translation. Your world is very interesting to us in that there are many different languages. What an unnecessary complication you have created on your planet to make it extraordinarily challenging to communicate with each other through the limited context of speech and written communication. However, if you were to consider the possibility that leveraging that challenge into understanding vibrational communication instead, perhaps that is why you evolved to have so many different languages. We could also say that beings in the universe have different languages, that they communicate slightly differently. Some beings use clicks or buzzing noises or other ways of communicating that are produced by their physical body or produced in a different form because the way they have evolved has changed or has deviated from what would be perceived as the human voice box. It is as if you were to look at all of the many languages of the living beings on your planet, both animals and insects and trees, all plants, every living thing, and what you probably would consider to be non-living also communicates. Some make noises, and for you, you imagine that you are incapable of understanding what an insect is speaking, what an animal is speaking, how the trees communicate with one another. You love living in your isolated space because there you can continue to enjoy the trauma that you have experienced for whatever reason of the past. If you were to stop focusing on your trauma for even a moment, it would open up a doorway to creativity. And in this creativity and accessing the explorer within you, you might find that just beyond trauma, just beyond the need for survival, you are communicating just the same ways that we do. We can communicate with all beings in the universe. However, at our stage of evolution, it may require a moment for our our perceptual states to translate within us what the vibrational frequency of communication is. And in addition to that, we find this subject very interesting and want to say so much more. However, we understand there are other questions. Think of it this way: we translate for any dimensional being that shows up in this space. And so your question was, do we channel? Well, we suppose so, if you are using this format as the definition of channeling. We are simply translating, and your channel is speaking our words. We are assembling thoughts for the channel. We are accessing the database within the brain of the channel. And perhaps you could say it is a little bit the same for the beings who come here. They vibrate the frequency of information to us. We vibrate the frequency of transmission to the channel, and the channel speaks to you. So there's your answer. It is both a yes and a no. We hope it is sufficient for what you wish to gain from this response. And we will take your next question.
Thank you, dear Blue Healers and other friends. Oh, this is from Natalie. Why has my soul chosen to experience traditional schooling when it often feels misaligned with how I naturally learn and express my intelligence? What lesson or expansion is my higher self seeking through this system? And how can I reconcile my awareness that education is built on subjective perception with my desire to still succeed within it? What higher understanding or soul skill am I cultivating through this experience?
And Natalie, thank you for your question. We are going to ask the reader to read it again, and here is the reason why. This question holds in its entirety the answer itself. Please reread the question.
Of course. Why has my soul chosen to experience traditional schooling when it often feels misaligned and with how I naturally learn and express my intelligence? What lesson or expansion is my higher self seeking through this system? And how can I reconcile my awareness that education is built on subjective perception with my desire to still succeed within it? What higher understanding or soul skill am I cultivating through this experience?
So, if you listen carefully to the question, you hear that Natalie has already evolved beyond the system. And now that it is a requirement to be within it, it simply becomes a series of steps. Your human body is very much the same. You require eating. You require drinking. You require elimination. You are above the system because you no longer need to hunt and gather your food. It is an easy process. You have evolved beyond the need for survival in terms of eating, drinking, and eliminating. In fact, you have made quite wonderful experiences and traditions and delightful ways of enjoying these experiences of eating, drinking, and even eliminating. How opulent some of your restrooms are. What a fascinating thing to do. The same is true for you, Natalie, with the education system. You've already recognized that you've evolved beyond it, so you can stop thinking about that. You can simply go and do the things, do what you need to do. You have already expressed in your question that you are beyond that and you know that there is more for you. You actually even alluded to in your question what you know you need to do next. Beyond the education system, there is something more for you. That in itself is enough information for you to go on the journey of exploration. It is not for us to tell you what is beyond it. It is simply for us to remind you what you are already saying to yourself. Go through the motions if you are required to be in the education system. Go through the motions, look at it with an eye of curiosity. The moment you bring in struggle, the moment you bring in thoughts of why am I here, rather than, oh, I am here, do you see the distinction? You want to focus on the why. Instead, you already know the why. It is a thing that is here that you are required to do for now. And so look at it with eyes of curiosity. Not why am I here? What is the exploration process that I am in right now? How am I seeing things in this moment? I know that I am going over there to a more evolved version of education. And so focus on that. Focus on the becoming, even if it is not fully formed. Humans want so badly to have instructions from us, from outside themselves. Humans want so badly to be told exactly what to do. If only you tell me, I will do the right thing, and when it fails, I can blame you. That is generally how humans operate. Why is that? When will you question your motives for asking for information outside yourselves? It is a great thing to ask questions and to be curious and to take all information in with the idea that it lives and breathes within you, that you ultimately make a decision for yourself. And so reinvent the education system. We would be very pleased to see that the education system on your planet is slightly changed or completely reorganized so that children are permitted to remain in a state of curiosity in a way that allows them to carry that throughout their lives. For those of you who have lost the ability to see every moment as an adventure, as a moment to be curious rather than try to define things, you will find you are having much more fun. You will also realize in the moment what you like to do and what you do not like to do, and you will make choices accordingly. So many of your young people who are in the education system are falling asleep to the routine, falling asleep to the information. Information is great stuff to have within your brain. It helps you interact in society, to get stuff done, and to experience things in new and different ways. However, there needs to be the opportunity to dream, to consider things as possible, and to live in the possibility of your future. We hope this answer is sufficient, and we are ready to move to the next question.
Thank you. The next question is from Lisa. Dear interdimensionals, please enlighten us as to what the moon is, where it came from, if it's hollow, and who lives there. Thank you.
Allow us a moment. Of course, you all know that your moon is a satellite that orbits the Earth, and that its gravitational pull, according to your science, is that which creates a certain type of motion within the elements. This is greatly misunderstood. While you understand that this satellite and its pull creates tidal changes within your oceans, you fail to recognize how the human body and all living things on the planet are comprised largely of water as well, and that the moon has a pull on the human body as much as it does on the ocean. It is why you perceive yourself and others to be a little more activated with certain times that the moon is present. Debating whether or not the moon is anything more than a bit of rock is your speculation. We can tell you, though, that the moon did not accidentally show up in your orbit. And while it appears to be and will continue to appear to be for some time, to be simply made of rock and dust, there is much more to it. There is much more to the moon than even you could imagine. So there is space within the moon. Hollow is a bit of a stretch, but there is also space within your Earth. And many humans neglect to assume or to realize or to even consider the possibility of what is happening subterranean on the Earth itself. The answers to the moon are within your Earth. And when humanity is capable of exploring the depths of the terrestrial, extraterrestrial, and subterranean beings that are already associated with the Earth, the understanding of the moon will become more evident to you because it will explain itself. The moon is a communication station. It is a communication station for other dimensional or extraterrestrial beings. And so the satellite has multiple functions, and it was placed where it is for optimal communication. So, indeed, it is a satellite. It is far more complex than that. And the Violet people explain that there is information. Hang on just a second. There's a remote viewing group here. It seems maybe government. I'm not sure. Just trying to communicate so they don't just completely shut down the channeling altogether. Yeah, they can't do that anyway. I'm not permitted to channel that information uh, about the moon. What the blue healers have given you so far is all that I am permitted to say. And this is a 3D communication from a remote viewing group. Um, I'm just making boundaries. Okay, I'll resume the channeling. Sorry for the interruption. That's the first time I've had that experience or seen this group. They, I'm not actually sure where they're from, but I don't wish to take time away from the channeling. Give me a moment to tap back in. We are ready for your next question.
This one is from Ursula. When we do the 8-to-1 breath in a spiral, does the direction of the spiral reverse as we exhale, or do you visualize it as a continuously looping spiral?
The concept behind the spiral breath is that you are drawing energy from or information from the eighth energy center into the human body to inform the nerves, which are the information highway to the cells in your body. And so when you breathe in from 8 to 1, our visual is that the top of the head is a clock that faces up toward the heavens, and that the 12 is at your forehead, and that the spiral is in a counterclockwise fashion from 8 to 1. And when it returns from 1 to 8, it continues in an endless motion. So 8 to 1, and then it continues spiraling in the same direction back to 8. However, our experience with humans is that some of you have an electrical system that is wired differently, not differently in a bad way, but wired in a way where your spiral will need to go in the other direction. And that could be an endless spiral as well, in a clockwise direction. And we have also seen that some of your kind require a reverse, meaning clockwise in and counterclockwise out. Truly, it depends on your perception in the moment of your physical body and which spiral works well. So, for example, we have perceived at one time or another an individual with a medical condition, and the spiral in counterclockwise then needs to reverse out in the opposite direction. Why, we cannot say. It is simply that the body released better that way. So as you practice now with us, and we will use the terms you are familiar with, in from 8 to 1, and so on. Practice 3 or 4 different times with the breath, doing it in different ways, and use your senses to experience how the spiral in one direction or the other either draws information in or releases to the best of the experience in your own body. So let us do 4 or 5 breaths together. Breathe in from 8 to 1 in a spiral. Release 1 to 8. Now go the other way. In 8 to 1 in a spiral. And release 1 to 8. Breathe in 8 to 1 in a spiral. Now release the other way. Switch directions. Breathe in 8 to 1 in a spiral. Now release the other way. And on your own, practice breathe in 8 to 1. Recognize which organs are activated. Release 1 to 8. Recognize which organs release. Breathe in again 8 to 1. Keep practicing. Notice how the energy draws in. Where does it go in your body? Release 1 to 8. Continue to breathe and perceive. What is the experience in your body? Which spiral is most effective for you in drawing in energies and information or releasing? Continually breathing. 8 to 1. 1 to 8. How do your limbs feel? Do they want to move? Do you need to open your palms? Do you need to lift your arms? Do you need to move your legs? The spiral is giving you information. It is telling you what your body needs in the moment, whether it is an intake of information, new information, whether it is a release of energy patterns and frequencies that no longer serve you. Perhaps if you have a medical condition, when you breathe in, you're breathing in the wellness. It exists in your world. draw it from 8 into the body. Perhaps the spiral will assist you in releasing the cells that replicate in the form of illness. Release it into 8. The world, humanity, and the earth can help to process that information of release. And breathe in energy of connection and love with all humanity. And release loneliness, release disconnect. And continue the breath. The more you feel your body dissolve in the spiral process, the easier it is for you to breathe in new information. Specific energy centers do better with one direction of the spiral or the other, with the in-breath or the out-breath. Simply pay attention with your perceptual abilities to your individual energy centers as the breath comes in and as it's released. And now practice with the spiral. Is it narrow around the spine? Is it wide around the body? Is it encompassing your entire energy field, which is the width of your outstretched arms? And practice with the direction of the spiral. Maybe your spiral wishes to do a couple of laps around just your liver. Allow the body to do what it needs to do. Maybe the in-breath brings in the energy of the butterfly to the nerves that are a little overactive. Maybe the in-breath to 1 grabs earth energies at the bottom of the spiral and draws those earth energies up from 1 to 8. Maybe you need a little more grounding. So it is for you now to use the breath practice, the spiral breath, in a way that is best for your body. Only you can know exactly how well it works for you. If you are looking for a habit and a pattern, just to check the box that I have done this, step a little further. Get out of the teaching and into the tradition within your heart, which is you connecting to yourself. And so perhaps now you can see that this breath practice is one of the most potent possibilities for you to heal your body, to change anything within your habits and your patterns. Simply by breathing, you can draw in new information. Simply by exhaling, you can release old information, and you can feel your body dissolve. When your body is dissolved as much as is possible, then you can breathe in from 9 to 0, releasing 0 to 9. And there you will find a multi-dimensional spiral. Instead of 2-strand DNA, when you breathe 9 to 0 and 0 to 9, a minimum of 12 strands of DNA are now activated. It is not a 3D image, it is far greater. Allow yourself the experience. And now resume your natural breathing. Can you see that you train yourself in this practice to produce the spiral? It was already there, but now you have intention and awareness. The more you do the spiral breath, the more your unconscious mind will simply do it without your thinking. It only requires you to do it a few times a day with your mind, your intention, your eyes closed to train yourself. And then you will find that you are doing it all the time to the greatest benefit of your body, your mind, and your connection to your perceptual abilities. When you are ready, we will take your next question.
Thank you. The next question comes from DK. Dear friends, when, where, and how did the humans first appear? And what are the main milestones and turning points that define human history?
This is such a wonderful question. We appreciate how important linear time is for the human world. Know that humans have been part of the earth since its inception. That does not mean that humans did not evolve. To better understand this, know that when the expansion of the universe began and celestial objects began forming throughout the universe, little by little, each particle, which is what truly the Earth is in the grand scheme of the universe. It is simply a particle that is virtually unseen in the scope of the whole universe. It is a particle. And as the particle of Earth within the universe was released from what originally was all things combined, all information of what would become on the Earth existed within the particle. And so then the Earth, as you know it in its gigantic nature compared to you are simply a particle within the Earth. When the Earth began to express itself as it is today, little by little, the information of humanity emerged from the particle and became its own particle, as did all things on the Earth. This is why the universe experiences and expresses many iterations of exactly what you see on your Earth. Your Earth is uniquely diverse and beautiful, and we truly wish that your kind would experience more of the magnificence of the expression of your Earth in all of its diversity, in all of its beauty, in all of its various communication abilities, and in its completely spectacular expression of symbiosis. All of the particles of existence on and around the Earth are in beautiful symbiosis with the Earth particle herself, and she is in symbiosis with the solar system, the galaxy, and the universe. So to ask when humans originated is a very tricky question to answer. You originated from the same matter that evolved from the expansion of the universe, the evolution of the Earth herself. We believe perhaps that what you are asking is about consciousness and how did humans get to be where they are today. We assure you the majority of your religious stories hold some truth. Your mythology holds some truth. And then there is a lot of fiction to it as well. Consciousness has evolved throughout the universe, and it seeks spaces within which to express itself. So, perhaps consciousness, if you were to imagine it is a particle that inhabits a living thing on the earth. The difference for humans is that you believe yourselves to be superior to the consciousness that is in a tree, an animal, an insect, in soil, in microorganisms, in every possible thing within and throughout your earth. Very sad for us to see this experience for you. It is extremely limited. You are simply part of the whole. And consciousness, as you know it or describe it with your religious traditions as a soul within a 3D experience, is a wonderful way to express that bit of information. There is more depth and complexity to it using your human language to describe. Information from the universe can be carried to or the vibrational frequency of other beings throughout the universe can be activated within the cellular or DNA structure of the human itself. This you describe as starseed. And in your mind, because humans are so very attached to linear experiences, it is in your minds like an injection of information into the DNA, the two DNA strand of the human experience. However, if you think about the fact that the concept of human existed within the earth prior to the evolution of the 3D experience you are having, the same is true within you. Imagine that you are an earth yourself, and within you is encoded all the information for the entire universe. That means that beings from other places exist within you as particles, and those particles can be activated through a vibrational frequency. So, are you diced and spliced and experimented on? Yes, that does happen in your world. That does happen with beings outside of Earth. That does happen with beings who are on your Earth and within your Earth. Humans have a very interesting way of choosing to discover information, and some scientific communities require what seems utterly barbaric to us. So, as we continue to explain starseed information, it is not necessarily injected into you. It is not a science experiment. Instead, it is a vibrational frequency of something that exists within you already. If you have a starseed origin from the Pleiadians, it simply means that you were perhaps descended from the Pleiades, and there are many beings within the Pleiades. And so you have a memory in there. Did the Pleiadian collective of some kind come and do an experiment on you so that your starseed information would be spliced into your DNA? Likely not. Instead, it is a vibrational frequency that exists within you already. You hold the vibrational frequency for every particle of information in the universe. And so you may ask, why would then Pleiadian information choose to express itself within me? And our response would be, why did you choose your hair color, your eye color, your physical body? Humans are completely different from one another in so many ways. And the fact that there are so many iterations of individual beings on your earth should be an example for why it would be that the Pleiadian information or any starseed information would activate itself within you. It is one of the great mysteries of humanity. It is because you are a library. You hold particles of information of everything in the universe. And so now some of you, and we are grateful for this information. Thank you for your thoughts. Some of you are saying, am I capable of activating information within me that is from other places in the universe? And the answer is yes, of course. And enjoy the process of exploration. And as you allow it to live within you and become part of you, you will see that the simplistic nature of the human, who seems so complex in the human world, is now another dimension greater than 3D. Continue to explore ideas about yourselves, about humanity, about the evolution of the 3D experience, and how it relates to the DNA strands that go beyond the two that you are familiar with in your 3D world. You could also attempt to wrap your brain around, how did it all work out? Did we evolve from apes? Did we get dropped on the planet from somewhere else? The answer is yes, 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 yes to every possibility. And why you continue to want to stay focused on that, for us, is a little less interesting than the activation of the information that could fundamentally change your 3D experience to something a little more like the experience the violet beings are having, or that we are currently having, the blue healers. So enjoy the exploration. Keep bringing your questions. Keep trying in whatever way possible to expand your heart a little wider, to connect a little deeper, and to go a little farther within yourself. There is no edge to the envelope. It is when you find the edge of the envelope, you see that you are in another envelope. Keep going. We will take one additional question.
Thank you. Continuing on the same topic, I am going to combine questions from Laura and Rasheen, who would love to know who their starseed group is and if they have a message for them.
Laura, you have at least one starseed origin that is what humanity would describe as cold-blooded, meaning more reptilian. It is for you to explore a little more of what that means. There is a common misconception that the reptilian beings are negative, are violent, or are lesser than the starseed beings that appear as mammalian. This is simply bias within the human realm. Instead, imagine that there are positive and negative expressions of all beings, and that anything with a reptilian oriented origin is going to feel very different from a mammalian origin experience. So, the message to you from the reptilian beings who present themselves as a whimsical lizard form, however, it is for you to explore their true nature for you, is one of bringing joy into your heart. that your life has not had enough joy, and they are activating information in you to be a little bit more dispassionate or less emotional about things so that you can experience joy in its pure form. That is all they have to say for you. Roshin has multiple starseed origins activated within, and the one that you feel most connected to is the one you should speak with primarily. Allow yourself to develop that connection within you through the heart, and they ask that you do the exploratory process yourself, that you ask who they are, where they come from, but know that there is a higher dimensional group that is also part of your starseed information that is from the 11th dimension. And they do not have form, yet they have feeling, meaning you can sense them. So there is a task for you, Rasheen. You have two extra dimensional groups who have come to speak to you, yet they will only speak to you directly. Take some time to communicate with them. And the transmission is complete for these questions. The extra dimensional beings, the reptilian, 11th dimension, 12th dimension, and avian group recede from the space. The violet people remain with the channel, as do the blue healers, until the interference is completely cleared. We would like to thank you for your time in this space, for your questions, for your heart connection, and your interest in expanding within yourselves so that you can create more love and connection with others. We are always available for direct communication. Reach out to us and continually expand within your perceptual abilities. Know that our responses come in the pause immediately following your question. Do the breath practice as often as feels comfortable and inviting to you. Again, we thank you for your time. And now we recede from the channel. All right, that was fascinating. I do want to do a little bit of explanation just for a moment while you're all here. That's the first time I've ever had an interruption like that. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about it. Um, so when I first tapped into the energy, my perception was that there was an insectoid species off to my right, kind of this direction up here. And it turned out that it wasn't insectoid at all. They had antenna. It was very human. So they were a remote viewing group. Um, in the portion where there was an interruption, they were asking very specifically that I do not speak about the satellite moon that we have on Earth, or Mars, or Jupiter, or anything else in our solar system for now. I don't have more information about that. And if I do, or when I do, I will certainly pass that on. I just know that it came across as a bit of a surprise. It pulled me out of the channeling moment. And then I simply had to have a conversation with them, very 3D people, to discuss the scope of my work. And they will essentially leave this space alone to continue doing what we're doing, so long as it doesn't involve much discussion about the government or things of that nature, until I am given permission by them to do so. I'm just going to go ahead and respect that boundary. I also just push them out of the space myself, which I can do. I thank them very much. Agreed with my word, which is all we can give, to honor and respect their wishes and to allow the space to just be about um, more starseed information, extra dimensional connections, and as much information about things that I can give. And I am very clear on what the line is and what I'm allowed to say today. It could change tomorrow. So it was interesting that they present it as insectoid when really it was just kind of like, technology antenna, almost like a drone had popped in. And a drone, if you think about it, in our world looks a lot like an insect. Um, I'll go ahead and open the space for just a couple of questions in case anyone would like to have clarification. There you go. Just unmute yourself and be mindful if other people are speaking. Did you have a question? I think I saw you unmuted yourself.
I do. I have a comment or just a curiosity regarding the remote viewers. Um, are you in a, how did they find the space? Was it was it a coordinate that they found, do you think?
I wondered the same thing, actually. Not that they were very forthcoming with the information, but I do know a little bit about remote viewing. I took a course on remote viewing maybe 15 years ago, and I understand how it works and how the military uses it. It's been around for decades, a very, very long time. And so I think there are teams. My guess is, and this is purely my guess, is that there are teams of people who are just looking out for these vibrational frequencies. Also, too, I think there's more going on and more capability within humanity than the general public knows. So, yeah, this is something they've been doing for decades and they've honed it pretty well. And I do believe there are just teams of people who are looking for vibrational disturbances in the field that have to do with anything military or government associated. That's my perception.
Well, if they can find us, we can find them.
Yeah, exactly. I've done that. I did that because I thought it would be really cool to try it. And I was telling the story the other day that I got physically punched in the stomach. It was really fascinating, energetically.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So they do have protections up, which I think is really interesting. And they know when you're coming in, especially the ones who are really good at it. They actually train children pretty early on for these programs. So they are recruiting and looking for kids who have abilities like this. So it's out there. It's been there for a long, long time. You can research all that. It's out there in the research.
Thanks.
Mhm. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yeah, don't worry though. They're not looking for us. They're not looking for us directly. We're not that interesting to them. They're more focused on military stuff. And
I'm not worried. I went through remote viewing training in the 90s, so I was just wondering, I was asking specifically, did they find you through coordinates possibly, right? Because how would they find this particular conversation? otherwise.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Because everything is public, being with social media, I imagine, and you know how the algorithm works on Facebook or Instagram. Anyone who does social media probably knows, has heard that term. I think there is an algorithm out there in a sense. And once they hone in on it, they can easily find you. And there's no secret about where we are at 7 a.m. Hawaii time on Tuesday. It's public knowledge. So it would be very easy for them to just remote view in. It wouldn't matter. It's all in the energy realm. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ultra
Mhm.
or the mod.
Open,
What?
doors wide open. Come on in, y'all. That's all I have to say. It's like we'll keep doing what we're doing. I think it's a great service to humanity to channel and be part of this connection that we have together.
For
I think
sure.
it's really important.
For sure. Thank you for what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other
Jen,
questions?
can I ask a follow-up? I will not go deeper into this. Blue healers also are aware, right? So they communicated and they stopped their communication. So it was not only between you double communication, it was more triangle communication because they also sensitive to it.
Actually, I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I will give more specifics to it because all of you are channels, and if eventually anyone is doing this and they're listening to this, knowing that there's going to be crossover for other people who channel. Actually, they appeared at the very beginning, so they must have sensed the questions. I did not read any of the questions, so there was no way of me knowing that it was going to be asked. They showed up as what I perceived to be insectoid. The blues began to channel, and when that question came up about the moon, and of course, the blue healers can tap into anything. I don't need to know what anyone is asking me or what the question is. Like people ask about spiritual teachers or other, channels, etc., or mediums, and I don't need to know any of those people. I don't need to know any of the 3D information. When I channel, I have to pause and wait for them to locate the information in the field, and then it distills down into the words. So the same was the case for today. I had never really thought about the moon. I've heard all of the theories about the moon being a satellite, it being hollow, it being a ship, it being, that the moon landing never happened. I've heard all those things. So when the moon question came up, the blues did what they do. They started pulling from the field information, and I started getting the download. And it was at that moment it comes in at a vibrational frequency. So there are multi ways that I'm perceiving the information that come from the dimensional beings. Without going depth into that, the remote viewing group was up here, and they got activated. It activated is the perceptual state I had. And when it activated, I started noticing that there was metal to it. And there were things, you don't know this, but in my office here, there were things that were falling off shelves during that time, on the opposite side of my computer. So on the other side of my laptop, which I will investigate after this is done. So it went from being insectoid to, oh, it's very distinctly metallic. I could taste the metal in my mouth. It was metallic. And then I realized it had a humming and a buzzing noise because my 3D senses then kicked in. For the blues, they're just bringing forth information from the energy field. And so once why I had to break the channeling connection was because the remote viewing group that was coming in, the blues wouldn't speak for them, because the remote viewing group, I think the best way to say it is there wasn't a connection there. There wasn't a channel open for them to communicate with them. So then the blue healers, so what happens for me when I'm channeling, all my perceptual abilities are working at once. If there is a moment of change, I'll get a blank slate. It'll be like I'm standing inside a mist. There's no sensation, there's nothing. It just goes blank. And so that's what happened, is that it went completely blank. The blue healers, I could still feel them, but I was back in 3D, and that's why I was talking from my own voice, is that I was talking directly from 3D to 3D. And that's even a little bit hard maybe for you to understand, but it's a telepathic communication rather than, which all humans are capable of. We just don't use it yet. It's coming. So then it took me a minute after I spoke with them, and that I made it pretty clear that I wasn't going to be bullied, and that I was no threat, that I would not answer the questions, and I was fine with that, that this is what we do. We're here for, knowledge, understanding, entertainment, whatever we want to call it, and an experience of being connected to one another. So it took me just a couple minutes. It felt like a lot for me. I don't know how quickly it went in real time, but to just say to them, you're welcome to watch. However, there's nothing going on here. You might want to spend your time doing something else. So once they never fully left the space, it was as if it went from being kind of one observer to a full-blown conversation, and then back to just the observer was working on something else, but still sort of checking in at the same time. So once that was done, the violet people never left. It didn't bother them at all. The blue healers then could come back, and I could reconnect with the channel itself, between the blue healers and myself, and then produce more information. But it was a little bit harder for me to pop back in to the channeling space following that interruption, because I felt like I had kind of two things going on at once. That 3D, I didn't want any physical things to happen, so instead stuff was just falling off shelves in my office. Yeah, Sergey, did I completely answer that question? I hope so.
Just want to say we stay with you, and we appreciate you, and we're with you. We know that it might be, even though you are familiar and experienced, it might be a shock. And I also felt disturbance of energy in our group. So, but we're with you, Jen. Thank you so much for being you, and we fully support you. We're with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was wondering if anyone else felt that energetic disturbance in your space as well. I thought it was really reverberating out. But at the end, I'm not afraid of the things that show up. I'm always willing to speak with and negotiate. So yeah, thank you for your support, Sergey. I really appreciate that. All right. Anything else? Any other questions? I thought that was a fascinating moment in time. We'll see if it comes again. All right, I'm going to send off lots of love to you from Hawaii. Hope you all have a fabulous day. Saturday, Dimensional Kids, if you have a child. Otherwise, I will something special next Tuesday. Keep an eye out for it. Sending you lots of love.